It's time for the Rick Smith Show. Now, here is the voice of the working class, Rick Smith.
And welcome, brothers, sisters, working class heroes. This is the Rick Smith Show. Thanks so much for being here today on the big program. Lots to get to, lots to talk about. Big hearing today, and big fun there. Cannot wait to jump into the middle of all of that. But first, had a really great day in Philadelphia today as the AFL-CIO held their convention, electing Liz Shuler as their president, the first woman president of that organization, and Fred Rudman, the first African-American secretary-treasurer. Historic day. That happened yesterday, but historic convention. It was an incredible place of a lot of what the messaging about labor has been over the years is, stuck in the past, Luddites. The amount of technology that they were rolling out. The bricklayers have this machine that lifts the bricks. I may have become a bricklayer. Still keeps workers, working, but saves people's backs, hyper efficient. Lots of great stuff, lots of cool tools, lots of cool little gadgets. The sheet metal workers, they've got this dog this mechanical dog that lays out grid work. I mean, the pilots had their simulator. There was just all kinds of kind of geeky, techie stuff, which is really cool. Along with, hey, better wages, hours, conditions, fighting for social justice, fighting for opportunities. It was a great convention. I'll be back tomorrow for President Biden's speech. He'll be showing up in Philadelphia for that. We generally do our show from those conventions. We've been doing it for years. This year with COVID, the protocols didn't happen. So we come back to the studio. We'll do the show from here. Interviews and stuff down the road. We just didn't do it. Couldn't do it. So we will get to that stuff. But it was great to be back in public space with activists and labor leaders and workers, all saying, look, we're at a historic moment. Take advantage of this moment. Continue to organize. Continue to move forward. Had a nice conversation with Marty Walsh, Labor Secretary. I'm going to put that out on podcast later in the week. But yeah, really, really great stuff, and excited about the direction of labor in this country. And hopefully, Liz Shuler will lead into the future and do great things. But ultimately, it comes down to us. It comes down to you and me. It comes down to working people saying, you know what? We want better wages, hours, conditions for everyone. Equality across the board. Doesn't matter who you are, what position you find yourself where. Doesn't matter. You do a job, you get paid for it, and that's a conversation I had today with someone of the transgender community. Doesn't matter. Everyone is equal. Do your job. Everyone's equal. Life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. It's always been my view. There's opportunity here. And as soon as we can heal those divides, as soon as we can put down our divisions, as soon as we can get past all of the anger and the hatred and all the things that have been tearing us apart, maybe the sooner we can get moving forward. And I think one of those main arguments, one of those things that really tear us apart, I think today the hearings, MAGA world, were you watching? And were you angry? Honestly, if you bought the hat, if you got the MAGA hat, you bought the Trump flag, if you got the T-shirt, if you're getting 100 emails a day, hey, help us stop the steal. If you took the bus trip to D.C., you took money out of your own pocket to fly across the country to get to D.C. because they told you, man, they're stealing it from you. They're stealing. Are you angry by what you're hearing? Are you ready to start burning the MAGA hats and flags? Are you ready to start going, they lied to us? I mean, Representative Zoe Lofgren was, look, Trump used these false election claims, the false fraud claims, to raise hundreds of millions, not thousands, hundreds of millions of dollars off of people he told, I need your money to fight these legal battles. And he never used it for any of it. As she said, the big lie was also a big ripoff. $250 million. $250 million. Now here would be an opportunity for a cheap jab, almost going to make him a billionaire. They paid Kimberly Guilfoyle $60,000 for a 2.5-minute screech. And the first question that came to my mind is, how much did she have to kick back to Trump? Did she get to keep 10 and have to kick 50 back? How did this scheme work? How did this big ripoff work? How much of it ended up in his pocket? I mean, wow. And look, here's the thing. I've been saying from the beginning that this is what this has always been. There was no way that they were going to overturn the election. There's no way that all of the fraud and all of the things that they were claiming were actually happening. And why? Understand why I was saying this. Not because I'm hyper partisan. You could argue, yeah, I am. But because none of them took this into the court of law. Rudy, nothing. Sidney Powell, nothing. Lynn Wood, nothing. None of the Trump legal brain trust went into that room where the people with the robe on, with the gavel, where they bring the book out that everyone on the right claims to love but never reads, where they make you put your hand on it and swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth to help you God. None of them took those fantasies into that room. None of them. They saved that for the Four Seasons lawn care facility. They saved that for the hotel in Gettysburg. They saved that for the F channel. They saved that for every email they sent, the hundreds a day that I get from every right-wing group, and save the this and stop the that, and oh my God, they're taking that. And it was all just a big ripoff. It was the big fleece. Are you angry? You got conned. And I said this from the beginning. Donald Trump is a con man. He was always a con man. Is anyone surprised by this? No one should be. No one should be. This is the kind of stuff he's been getting away with for years. Now, this is one of those moments. This is an opportunity to go, you know what? Nobody likes to get taken. Nobody likes to get ripped off. Nobody likes to get the short end of the stick. But there's a moment where you go, yeah, fess up. I got taken in. And there's nothing wrong with that, because I was thinking about it today on the ride back from Philly. I had about 2.5 hours in the car as I'm listening to the hearing, and I'm going through this in my mind. Okay, well, what if the shoe's on the other foot? And you really believe that all of this stuff is going on? Because look, I truly believe that Republicans have been doing gimmicks for years. You go back to the purging of the voter rolls. They do that. They've gotten away with it for years. We've known that. The hanging chads. You go back to 2000. You go back to 2004 with the caging. The whole voter ID thing. Everything to put an obstacle in the way. And we fought back against those. And we fought hard. Had someone come to me and said, "Oh, whoa, whoa," there was the black box voting folks, who for a couple of minutes had my ear going, "Okay, give me the information." Had the president at the time come out and said, "Hey, trust me, I'm your president. I'm putting the full faith and credibility of this office behind telling you that they're stealing this election from us, that there's a nefarious plot to overthrow our government. Stand up, be patriots, and send me money. Would I send them money? No. But I would take to the streets. So I kind of understand a little bit. So there's openness. There's an opportunity to go, hey, kind of get it. Kind of. But there's got to be a moment of awakening. And I got MAGA world, you've got to be angry about what you heard today. Because Democrats spent a good portion of the 2 hours saying, look, they made hundreds of millions of dollars that they off these voter fraud lies that didn't go to the campaign's legal effort because they knew there was no effort. They knew there was no there. And what I'm really struggling with in this moment is that you've got all of these people who now went into these depositions and went into these hearings to testify because they had to put their hand on the Bible and swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help them God. Or they go to jail under the threat of perjury because now they're under oath. They're not standing in front of some garage with the Four Seasons and lawn care service on it. This is real deal. This is you tell the truth or you go. And now there are people go, oh, look at how they pushed back. No, they were cowards at the moment. I'm sticking with cowards. They don't get the credit of being heroes after the fact. Oh, or they were telling him at the time. Did they tell you? Did they tell me? No. They stayed quiet. And they allowed the big lie and the big fleece, big ripoff to continue. You should be furious. This should be something that just... And look, here's the other thing. If you listen to the testimony of this Chris Steyerwalt, who was the political editor at the F channel, fired 2 months after the election, by the way, because they called the election, they called Arizona. And he went through, he said, look, we did our due diligence. The numbers are the numbers. The math was the math. There's no way to overturn and to do what he claimed was happening. There's just no way. It's just not possible. Maybe a recount gets you a couple hundred votes. It's not getting you thousands. And all of the claims that they threw out were all bogus. And you look at some of the words that Billy Barr was using. And this is the part that really, is kind of angering. And look, I know Billy Barr wants, it was trying to protect himself. But I got to tell you, I think Billy Barr is probably one of the most dishonest human beings and disingenuous human beings in our politics. But he went on to describe the voter fraud lies with terms like idiotic, BS, bogus and silly, disturbing, complete nonsense, zero basis for the allegations, all kinds of stuff like that. But go, Billy, where were you? Oh, that's right. In your resignation letter, where was any of that language? It was nowhere. So you don't get to now be the good guy. You stayed silent, people died. You stayed silent, policemen died. You stayed silent. Your voters, your party's voters are going to jail. Their lives are going to be changed forever. So all those people who thought they were uber patriots, fighting the good fight, watering the tree of liberty, they all got duped, man. And I hope they were watching. I hope they're seeing what's going on. Because maybe this is a moment where you go, okay, maybe there's a moment here. And I'd love to hear your thoughts. 1-866-416-RICK, 1-866-416-7425. Do you feel anger, MAGA world? Or is this a moment where you go, well, no, Trump was, DeSantis is now the good guy. Or Benito Mastriano, or whoever's next in the line of fascist kind of authoritarian leader who hates the same kind of people or wants the same kind of divisive future? Is that the future? Or are you ready to burn the MAGA past? I'd love to hear it. 1-866-416-RICK, 1-866-416-7425. Going to take a quick break. When I come back, a little bit more on this, because there was so much from this hearing. Got to get your thoughts. Quick break, right back. Stick around.
From the steel mills of Pennsylvania, to the auto factories of Michigan, to the modern makers movement, manufacturing makes our nation great. I'm Scott Paul, President of the Alliance for American Manufacturing. We bring business and labor together to advocate for policies that everyone can agree on. Together, we can strengthen manufacturing and create good-paying American jobs. Help us keep it made in America.
I've been driving buses for 5 years, and my day-to-day routine is I wake up a little earlier than most people. I get on a bus, I go out, I pick up some students and make sure they get to school nice and safe. Here in Fairbanks, Alaska, that can be a challenge because of the winter weather and the icy roads, but I love the job. So the Teamsters are great. They provide us a lot of protections. They've always taken care of their people, made sure that our jobs were secure. We didn't have to worry about whether or not we'd have a job from day to day.
And that's amazing because before we'd be working 4, 6, 8 hours a day and only earning minimum wage was real difficult to make a living. Then the Teamsters pushed a law so we make something we can live off of and not have to have a second job. What absolutely gives me peace of mind, the union membership allows me to focus on this job without having to worry about whether or not my family is going to be taken care of. I'm Andrew Case, and I'm proud to be Teamsters Local 959.
As Vladimir Putin wages war, oil companies are making billions by price gouging us at the pump, and Republicans are helping them do it. They took millions from big oil and blocked a clean energy plan that will lower costs for families. They're leaving us dependent on oil and at the mercy of foreign dictators. Congressional Republicans in the pockets of big oil against American-made clean energy. It all means higher profits for oil companies and higher gas prices for us.
It takes a lot to raise a family. A good job, a good salary, and some patience. A lot of people my age are drowning in college debt, but I chose a different path. I'm a member of the IBEW, the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. I work hard for my job, and I love what I do. I had a lot of choices for my future, but I made the best choice for my family. IBEW, the right choice.
Welcome back to the Rick Smith Show. Now, here is Rick Smith.
Welcome back to the Rick Smith Show. Check out our website, thericksmithshow.com. Questions, comments, something on your mind, you can email me, rick at thericksmithshow.com. Let's go to Ben on line one. Ben, what's on your mind?
Hey, Rick, I was just calling to agree with you. I'm sorry, there's a little echo in the phone here, but everything that you're saying is absolutely correct. I mean, it seems like so many people are giving these people a pass. We wouldn't be where we are right now had they done the right thing in the beginning.
Yep.
So I agree with you. We should be absolutely furious and not giving these people a pass. They all need to be taken to task.
No, and the people who are the ones who are going to be suffering the consequences for this, the people who were there at the insurrection, the people who are going to be going to jail, they should be the ones who are the most angry here, and the ones who are working to cooperate to make sure this kind of stuff never gets to happen again.
Absolutely, but unfortunately, and I've heard a couple of people say this earlier today, unfortunately, there's some of these people that you're never going to be able to get through to. No matter what they see, no matter what they hear, They're going to continue to believe the big lie. They're going to continue to support Trump. They're going to continue to do those things. I've lost a lot of friends over this stuff. And again, all of this stuff, at least most of it, could have been alleviated had these people just done the right thing. But because they're standing up in this moment, because they may be prosecuted, we should be absolutely incensed. I just hope that it gives us the motivation to get out there in droves to vote these people out.
No, I'm with you, and this is the election that has to happen. And I'm hoping people are paying attention. I don't like the fact that this was in the morning today. I would have liked this to have been prime time, but I'm hoping people are paying attention, Ben.
Well, I got to say this one last thing. A lot of us, I don't know what it is about the education system in America, but, a lot of us don't understand that this is the important election. It's not necessarily the presidential election. That's an important one as well. But this is the one that sets the foundation for a lot of this stuff to happen. We need to get out there and vote this November or early election, if you can do that. But we need to understand that this is the election that is in many ways the most important.
Amen.
But so many of us think it's not important and whatever. Anyways, yes, I agree with you totally.
Appreciate it, Ben. Thanks so much. Thanks for the call, buddy. Absolutely. I agree with Ben 100%. Let's quick get Alice on the line. Alice, how are we doing today?
We're doing. I sent you that article.
Yep.
About Liz Cheney. And what I wanted to say was, yes, the people are going to jail, but unfortunately, you have people like Liz Cheney who are protecting Ginny Thomas and some of these other ones. And I don't care who they are. They need to pay for what they did too.
100% there. That's why I keep bringing her name up. Ginny Thomas is one of those people who she has been under the radar for a very long time. And now she's really stepped in it because she had direct access to Trump, and the fact that the Supreme Court is part of this. I think her name has to be brought up often.
I totally agree with you, and I just think that, yes, I can see putting the focus on Trump and his cohorts, but she's one of them too. And I think that it's kind of despicable that, you have Liz Cheney going, well, her husband's a Supreme Court justice, and he's not there to defend himself. Excuse me? It's crazy.
No, not there. Not there. No, not there. But appreciate the call, Alice. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
No, but look, Ginny Thomas, she was head right out there in the front of the Tea Party movement. If you remember all that, she was right out there pushing that stuff. In fact, there were stories at the time of how they benefited from that, and these lines run deep. The great ripoff runs deep, and this is why I keep coming back to. Yeah, this is about Trump, but this is about the moneyed interests. I still come back to this. This is about the billionaires, the hyper wealthy who fund this stuff. Because this kind of division, I hate the right-left frame because this is what tears us apart. The reality is that the fight is not right-left. The fight is up-down. It is these billionaires who have all this money because, hey, we've created a tax code that just gives them all of this power. And then they use these concepts like freedom. They're taking your freedom to buy a gun. They're taking your freedom to do this or that. But you never hear anybody talk about the freedom from worrying about, are you going to die from not having health care? They never talk about the freedom of, at some point you're going to be able to retire in old age. They never talk about the freedom of earning a reasonable income for you so you can feed your children. They never talk about those actual freedom. No, it's always some abstract. And I think Democrats have got to reclaim liberty and freedom and those words back. And patriotism, love of this country, and love of fighting for it. I have a lot of friends who were, they thought Trump was fighting the good fight. And I'm hoping that they're seeing that, sadly, man, they got fleeced. I get the same emails because I get them so you don't have to. And every day my box is full of, hey, that left, they're coming, send us money. And to find out that there was never a defense. There was never going to be, because they knew there was no way to do what they were going to do. And they knew it. Every one of them people said they knew it. Even Ivanka. Man, I got to tell you, if I'm one of the red hat wearing MAGA folks, flying the flag, wearing the T-shirt, marking up myself, tattoo, I'm losing my ever-loving flipping mind over this. And you should be. You should be, and I want to hear from you. You can email me, rick@thericksmithshow.com. If you miss any program or today's or any program, make sure you grab the podcast. You can get that at the website or wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Quick break, right back with Joe Walsh. Stick around.
I am a member of the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. I feel very connected to my West Virginian roots in being part of a union. We've always been known to generate energy here. Renewable energy would definitely help generate jobs and get people back to work. If we don't start bringing in more jobs, more and more people are going to leave. Solar, wind, hydro, these can help reinvigorate West Virginia's economy. It's time to give West Virginia a chance.
The good news is America is coming back. More jobs, more building, more of what makes our country great. And more cities and towns, more small businesses and big corporations are choosing the highly skilled, highly trained members of the IBEW to do the work. The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers is committed to doing the job right, on time, and safely. America is making a big comeback, and the IBEW is proud to do our part.
The best way to strengthen America's economy? How about investing in America's fastest growing industry? Clean energy. It means millions of jobs that pay well and can't be outsourced. And lower utility costs for families. Congress, let's get it done.
It doesn't happen like we think it does. No one rolls the tanks. No armies meet in pitched battle. It happens quietly, little by little. And because so many think it can't happen, it does happen. Little by little, the rules change. It doesn't seem shocking or sudden. And that's the point. Fewer places to vote, longer lines. Don't worry, they say. We're just improving the system. They hope we won't notice the rules are changing because they lost the last election. They hope we just won't care enough to stop them. They believe they can take America away from us, and we won't even notice. We know who they are. We know what they want. The question is, who are we? Do we let them get away with it, or do we fight? Democracy is on the ballot. Vote while your vote still counts. The Lincoln Project is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Welcome back to The Rick Smith Show. Now, here is Rick Smith.
What an interesting day of hearings. And again, I think I agree with Joe Walsh. I don't know that it's going to move the needle, especially in MAGA world. But I got to tell you, if I'm in MAGA world, I am ticked off. Let's quick go to the phones. I got Julie listening from Minnesota on the line. Julie, what's on your mind?
Hi, thanks for taking my call. Say, I just heard about 2/3 of your conversation. I thought it was a very good conversation. The only problem I had with what Joe said was, he said, okay, we live in a gun culture and we have violence in our culture, and that's not going to change. But you know what? That's what the Republicans say. We live in a violent culture. We live in a gun culture, and it's like we shouldn't try. And my response is, why shouldn't we try? Because to me, that's kind of what Joe was implying with that statement. And I noticed he did say but a lot, but, I mean, I did enjoy the conversation, but I get tired of hearing how violent things are and guns, and yeah, that's true. But the implication is, therefore, we shouldn't try.
No, I'm with you.
That's the thing I have trouble
with.
with.
The thing that I liked what Joe had to say is that he was willing to open up, and that's not the Joe Walsh that I remember, years ago, which was nothing. So there's movement. That's a good thing, I think. I think I lost Julie. All right. Thanks so much, Julie. I mean, that's the reality. There's some movement forward. But I appreciate the call. But, today, the hearings, I got to get into this. That's why I have asked one of my favorite people on the air to come share a little little time with us. That's why I've asked Chris Hahn to come talk with us. Chris is a syndicated radio host of the Aggressive Progressive podcast. You can check out his stuff at ChristopherHahn.com. Chris, thanks for taking time for us.
Anytime, Rick. How you doing?
I am good. I want to get into this the hearings today because I got to tell you, if I'm in MAGA world, I'm ticked. I got fleeced $250 million, $60,000 to someone to scream for 2.5 minutes.
I mean, you gave Kimberly Guilfoyle $60,000 to show up at a rally that I paid, took a bus to D.C., got a hotel room so that, filmmakers from around the world couldn't get good hotel rooms. I took one of those rooms at Trump hotels, and you gave her $60,000 to come down and speak. Isn't she Trump's, daughter-in-law, pseudo kind of? I mean, give me a break. Yeah, I'm pissed if I'm them, but of course they're not even hearing it, Rick.
Yeah, my first question was, how much did she have to kick back?
I'm sure there's some sort of deal there. I'm sure she's kind of floating, paying some rent in one of the Trump properties while she's living there with Trump Jr. I don't know what that deal is there. But I know Kimberly Guilfoyle. I used to work with her at Fox News. I knew her before she was even really on Fox News, when we were both working on the internet shows at Fox back in the really early days at Fox, and never thought she was crazy ever until, late in her career, when she was just later in her career, when she started doing the 5 and understood that if you're going to feed that audience, you've got to toe the line, and that's what she did.
And I think that came out today. I mean, if you listen to the fired former political guy there from Fox, he said, look, we made a decision based on the polling. We made a decision based on educated numbers, and he got fired. I would argue for that and whatever else, but for me, the lying, the fleecing, they knew what they were doing all along. And you're right, Fox World isn't listening.
No, they're not listening. They don't want to hear it. But here's the thing. Here's the beauty of it, Rick. Elections are not going to be won by convincing the MAGA base that they're wrong. Elections are won by moving the needle at the margins. This is a 50-50 country. And I don't know that it's going to save the House of Representatives. I talked about this a lot this year. But the Senate is a much different arena, and I think convincing, 1 or 2% of right-leaning Republicans or center-right independents that they can't return this country to a Republican majority is going to do wonders in 2022. So, you don't have to convince everybody. 5,000 voters in Georgia, 20,000 voters in your home state of Pennsylvania, a couple of thousand voters in North Carolina. We change things in those regards if we can do that.
Are you surprised by the testimony that was given? I mean, you listen to each of the people, especially the videotape testimony, and how each of them tried to spin their testimony in such a way that they were the normal person. They were just trying to give good advice. They were saying, no, we've got to move on. No, there's no way we.
No, I mean, I titled my podcast that'll come out tomorrow that I taped today, Team Normal. There are people who are normal, and then there are people like Rudy Giuliani who, was he drunk? Was he not drunk? I don't want to judge. I've been around Rudy Giuliani a lot. I often see him with the scotch in his hand. So it's whether he was drunk, I don't know. But there were people pushing some pretty crazy things. And it's clear to me that Donald Trump knew he was wrong, knew he was lying, knew he lost. Bill Stepien is a professional campaign operative, has been for years. They had real data people on that campaign. They knew what the deal was. And then Trump just ignored them and replaced them. So, are people trying to run from this? That's good. It's a good sign for America that people are running for it. Bill Barr, there's been a lot of criticism of Bill Barr. I've been a big critic of Bill Barr. He testified truthfully and honestly to the committee. I wish when he resigned back in December of 2020 that he would have told the people why he was really resigning and not written that letter praising Trump. He should have been like, and remember, early in, after the election, right around Thanksgiving, before he announced he was resigning, Bill Barr made it very clear that he did not see any fraud in the election to the American people. So it's not like he didn't say that in 2020. He did say that in 2020. But the MAGA world didn't care, and he resigned. And I think his resignation could have been horrible for America, given the fact that Donald Trump could have, put somebody in there who was just some sycophant who would have told him what he wanted to hear and done what he wanted him to do.
So, because I give him no points for his testimony, so you're going to defend it. You're defending it.
I think that when you're asked, there's a difference between politics and talking to a reporter and testifying under oath. And he didn't lie. He showed up. He told the truth. MAGA world should hear that. And again, like I said, not everybody in MAGA, maybe not MAGA world, maybe that's the wrong word. Conservatives and Republicans who are not necessarily part of the MAGA world, but who think that you and I are being a little too dramatic about January 6th, they need to hear that. And they need to understand that returning Donald Trump and his sycophants and enablers to power in America is going to lead to more of this and less democracy. And if we don't have democracy, the stock market's bad today. Put a dictator in there and see how your stock portfolio is doing. They won't be doing anything. See what the value of the dollar is when the world decides that the euro is going to be the reserve currency or the Chinese yuan. I mean, you watch what happens to your portfolio and your value and inflation. This is nothing compared to what would happen if we had a dictatorship in this country.
And that's where I want to go to the next point, because you've got evidently Trump's talking about potentially launching his 2024 bid in Florida. You've got the latest polling coming out that's got Trump and DeSantis dead even, and whose name isn't continually coming up in any of these hearings, DeSantis. And there's part of me that goes, Trump gets put aside over here, and you get somebody worse to lead that whole MAGA world down the road even further.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see if Trumpism could work without Trump, even with DeSantis. I know he's popular in Florida right now, but I also think he's governed a little bit too extremely in Florida, and I do think there's a risk for him in this election cycle, even with the world being what it is. But yeah, you don't hear a lot about DeSantis in these hearings because he wasn't involved with it. The Florida election was not something that was contested or by us or by anybody else. He didn't have to pull any strings for Trump. He's made the typical Trumpy remark about how, we need to be looking at these results very closely, or there could be foul play, but never anything specific or any action really.
Yeah. So anything in this hearing today that shocked you? Anything new for you in this, or was just more confirmation of what you already thought?
No, I think today was not as shocking as last week. I mean, I was shocked by the fact that the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys basically were doing a scouting operation while the rally was going on to find the weak spot in the Capitol defenses, frankly. And they found it in the Peace Circle, and they led the rest of the people who were at that, rally to that point, while they, the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers, were intentionally, physically trying to invade the space of those areas and use the rally as cover. That, to me, I didn't realize that they marched down long before Trump spoke. And then when the rally showed up, they basically covered up their attack. To me, that changes a lot of things. This is not like anything spontaneous at all. This was truly planned. And the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers were coordinating. And the question is, did they coordinate with anybody who was involved with that rally? I believe that we're going to find that the answer to that is yes. And if that's the case, I want to know how high up that goes. I've said this to you before. I don't think Donald Trump's going to jail. But the more I think about what's been going on here and the dots that have been connected for me and for the American people by this committee over the last couple of days, the more I think that an indictment is warranted for him. Now, I have a feeling, Rick, and this might sound conspiratorial, that before he left office, he wrote himself up a pardon, put it in an envelope, dated it, signed the seal of it, put it in his pocket. and that if he's ever indicted, he'll whip out that pardon that he gave himself. And then we have a whole new constitutional crisis to worry about. Can a president pardon himself? I happen to think he can under the Constitution, but maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, no, that it would be interesting to find out. But, one of the things that I saw today, an interesting statement out of Merrick Garland saying that he was watching, he's going to be watching all the hearings, and he can assure everyone that the prosecutors, the January 6th prosecutors, are going to be watching. That's kind of, hey, we're paying attention. We may do something, but I'm with you. I don't see us pursuing.
But
I would be shocked.
What? Roger Stone was being protected by the Proud Boys on January 6th. I haven't heard his name brought up yet.
And why is that?
I don't know. And this is just the kind of thing Roger Stone would be involved with. Steve Bannon, why haven't we heard about him? Steve Bannon went on his podcast on January 5th and said all hell's going to break loose tomorrow. And yeah, that's exactly what happened. So I'm interested to know, and those two are, a heartbeat away from the president, right? In a lot of ways. They are his right hand and left hand men. And I want to know what's up with them and where do they take this? And if they are indicted, those two, for seditious conspiracy, which I think they might be at some point, will they roll on Trump? I think they will. I mean, I know for all, Steve Bannon likes to look like he, fell asleep on a train 5 years ago with all of his clothes on. He is a multi-millionaire. He's got Seinfeld money. Okay, which really makes me sick because it's one of my favorite freaking shows. But he's got Seinfeld money, and I don't think he wants to spend a day in jail. And if he is rolled, if he is indicted, he will flip. Don't let that "I was in the Navy" nonsense. He's been living a cushy Hollywood elitist life, and all this look he has, everything, it's just an act.
No, I'm right there with you. You're listening to the Rick Smith Show with Chris Hahn, syndicated radio host of the Aggressive Progressive podcast. Make sure you check that out. Also, check out his website, ChristopherHahn.com. We'll get links out on social media how you can take a look at that. I'm looking at this, and for me, the first day was the important one, because you look at the videotape of, as you were pointing out, how they planned this, how operationally everything came together. I had been saying for months leading up to that all of the Capitol kind of incursions that they had, the Second Amendment rally they had down in Richmond, Virginia, all of the ones in Michigan and Ohio and all that stuff, those were exercises. They were checking response of, what the public was going to do, the political fallout. They were checking responses. And this was part of that. But then with the backdrop, knowing that there was the Eastman memo, there were all these memos out there that they were plotting to stop the certification. Because absolutely, it was the Stop the Steal rally, Chris.
Yeah.
The intent, everybody went there with the intent of stopping Mike Pence. So it just seems like really convenient that happened.
I think they also underestimated how hard the Capitol Police would fight them. And the Capitol Police deserve a lot of credit. They deserve a lot of valor. And let me explain something to you. Back in Germany, when the civilization was starting to really fall apart and you were starting to see violence against Jews, there were police officers in Germany that tried to protect those Jewish neighbors, and they were hung right alongside with them. I'm the grandson of a Holocaust survivor. I've heard these stories. And those Capitol Police, and we heard the testimony last week from the woman who was fantastic. And then I thought it was brilliant the way they marked up what she was saying with the video of what was actually happening at the time. They didn't expect those two guards there to hold them as long as they did, and then more of them to hold them longer. If they had not done that, they would have killed members of Congress. I have no doubt in my mind of that. And they underestimated. They thought those cops were going to just roll and let them go walk in, and they didn't. So God bless those Capitol Police officers and the work they did that day. And shame on anyone who likes to say they support the police, who are cursing and chastising these people for doing their job that day. And there are a lot of people who have a thin blue line flag on their car, who are at the same time chastising the men and women of the Capitol Police who held the line long enough for the Vice President, Speaker of the House, the members of Congress, most of the members of Congress, the members of the Senate to evacuate the Capitol that day. I don't know if I went on a tangent there, Rick.
No. No, I mean, you're right. I got to be honest. I vacillate between that and they went as far as they were supposed to go.
Oh, I think when you see people moving in a column, moving in a stack formation into with zip ties and other things, I think their intent was to drag Nancy Pelosi out of that Capitol, to drag my former boss, my mentor, my friend, Chuck Schumer, out of that Capitol, other friends of ours out of the Capitol.
No, but what I'm saying
throw
is
them to the wolves and let what happens happens.
No, I'm with you. But where my mind goes is they got as far as they were supposed to, because they really, I believe the planners thought that everyone was going to evacuate, that everyone would flee the Capitol, that they would get them out of there, and that would be the end of the certification.
Yeah.
That they would then occupy the Capitol, and it would be over. And that didn't happen because, as you point out, the police did hold the line and did push back, and that part of the plan didn't happen.
Well, if you look at the timing that they showed last week, man, they were outside that Capitol as the full Senate and House were assembling in the House chamber. They were there. They were trying to break through that barricade as that was happening. It's breathtaking. I mean, I know we all knew this, right? But you see it again. And if you love this country, as I do, if you love, democracy, and you see what was going on there, and you see the lies being told by this president, and then you think about people like Kevin McCarthy, who knew better on January 6th, who's now, completely prostituted himself to Donald Trump, which I believe will not pay off for him in the end. And you see others like Elise Stefanik, who, was a moderate Republican until 2 years ago. You see what they're doing. They are as bad as anybody who watched other democracies fall around this world. And like Benjamin Franklin said after, creating the Constitution, it's a republic if you could keep it. And we barely kept it on January 6th. And it is in danger of falling again. There are people around this country running for office who do not believe in the election, do not believe in elections. The guy running for governor of your state said he'll appoint the Secretary of State who will decertify any machine he deems unfit. And where are those precincts going to be? I'll tell you where they're going to be. They're going to be in Center City, Philadelphia. They're going to be in Pittsburgh. They are not going to be in Lancaster County. They are not going to be in Bucks County where there are no people. They're going to be where the people are, where the Democratic votes are, where people of color are in this country. And that is not, that man is not a patriot. That man is not an American, in my opinion. He stands for the exact opposite of what this country does. And to run for governor in the great state of Pennsylvania, where our Constitution was drafted, where our Declaration of Independence was drafted, and to have that abomination sit as governor, God forbid. Okay, and you know what? I know it's unlikely. Pennsylvania has a trend of not electing people like that. But when the gas is $6 a gallon and people are struggling to make rent, they have other, liberals, have other things on their mind. Maybe don't come out to vote, and conservatives and people in the middle just want people in power to pay. So you could wind up with that guy as governor. God forbid Pennsylvania is close, or even if it's not close.
No,
God forbid he decertifies. He says, you know what? We're going to have one voting machine in Philadelphia. I think that's fair. We'll have one in each county. God forbid what happens in this country. Hopefully people will take to the streets.
No, and immediately we become worse than Texas or Florida or Alabama or wherever.
Yeah.
I've been saying we end up with Benito Mastriano as governor. Bad things are going to happen.
It's a great nickname for him. He looks like Mussolini.
He does, actually. The reality is, I think it had the black woman, Kathy Barnett. Had she looked like an old white guy who looks like a thumb, I think she would have won the Senate side of the Republican Party.
Perhaps, I love John Fetterman's positions, but I think John Fetterman, when he gets out of the hospital, better put on a freaking tie and a jacket and act like he's running for the Senate and not training to go box, Apollo Creed. Okay. I mean, it's I like what he stands for. I like his messaging. I like that he's a real Pennsylvanian, but he is running for the United States Senate. Maybe he doesn't have to put a tie on. I mean, I think ties are stupid.
He's got a tie. I've seen him with it on. He's got a jacket.
Just look like you're running for Senate, not training to go box. That's all I'm asking of you. I know you probably listen to this show. You're in the hospital. You got plenty of time to listen to things. All I'm asking, if you want my help, I'll come pick out some stuff for you, and we'll make you look like a senator. And I'll do it free of charge. Just buy me a cheesesteak.
John and I have been friends for years, and we've had this conversation. Because there was a question when he became lieutenant governor, would he don the tie? And he said that he would, and he will when he becomes a senator. He will look the part.
But you gotta look. I don't need to tell you, Rick. You got to dress for the job you want, not the job you have. Now I get it. He's got lieutenant governor's a pretty big job, right? But Senate people take very seriously. Nobody votes for lieutenant governor. They vote for senator, and it's something you're going to be on every channel. You're going to be in the mail. You got to show up. You got to look like you want that job.
Yep, I'm with you.
And he doesn't look tie. Put on a sport coat and a collared shirt. You're fine.
Yep, he'll do fine. I'm right there.
Right.
Chris, I appreciate the time, man. As always, great stuff. Look forward to having you back again real soon.
Thank you, man. I'll talk to you soon.
Good stuff. Our good friend Chris Hahn. Make sure you check out the podcast, the Aggressive Progressive Podcast. Quick break. Right back after this. Stick around. You're listening to The Rick Smith Show.
It doesn't matter what kind of weather. It doesn't matter what time of day or night. When Mother Nature's done her worst, the only thing that matters to us is keeping the lights on for you. The hardworking women and men of the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, dedicated to keeping the power on in communities all across the country. Because when bad weather strikes, we know what matters most. IBEW, the power professionals.
I've been driving buses for 5 years, and my day-to-day routine is I wake up a little earlier than most people. I get on a bus, I go out, I pick up some students and make sure they get to school nice and safe. Here in Fairbanks, Alaska, that can be a challenge because of the winter weather and the icy roads. But I love the job. So the Teamsters are great. They provide us a lot of protections. They've always taken care of their people, made sure that our jobs were secure. We didn't have to worry about whether or not we'd have a job from day to day.
And that's amazing because before we'd be working 4, 6, 8 hours a day and only earning minimum wage was real difficult to make a living. Then the Teamsters pushed a lot, so we make something we can live off of and not have to have a second job. What absolutely gives me peace of mind, the union membership allows me to focus on this job without having to worry about whether or not my family is going to be taken care of. I'm Andrew Case, and I'm proud to be Teamsters Local 959.
Calling all builders, all welders and roofers, engineers and electricians, calling all brick masons and boilermakers, steel workers and steam fitters. Your country is calling you to rebuild America, to create a cleaner, safer, more prosperous future for all. Tackling climate change, this is the job of our lifetime. It's time to build back better. Let's get to work.
But seriously, I mean, if you're the mega folks, and you bought into this, you bought the big lie, hook, line, sinker, you believed, and now you're hearing from the best people. Now remember, all of these people who are now saying this stuff that we told them repeatedly, we were team normal. These were the best people. Remember that. These aren't, fancy pants liberals or latte drinking liberals. These are the best people. These are his people. In their own words. The best people. Letting the cat out of the bag. Now, for someone like me who's been paying attention to this from the beginning, I'm not surprised by any of this stuff. We've talked about this stuff for years. The fleecing of the right has been the goal all along. I thought that was the reason that he ran to begin with. Never thought he was going to win, but it was a way to get leverage with his TV contract to make more money and a way to cash in and sell more crummy vodka and bad steaks and maybe get more dupes to sign up for the university and the airline. And damned if people didn't vote for him. Other question I have is, did he do anything in the last 4 or 5 months of his presidency? And what kind of a mess did Biden inherit? Something to think about. Love to hear your thoughts. Email me, rick@thericksmithshow.com. If you missed any of today's program or any of our programs, make sure you grab the podcast there at the website or wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks so much for being here. We'll see you back here next time.
You've been listening to The Rick Smith Show. Email Rick at rick@thericksmithshow.com. Until next time, this has been The Rick Smith Show, where working people come to talk.